Hello and welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you join us today for our monthly prep session, The Connected Classroom, Fostering Mental Health Through Belonging. And for those of you who are joining us live or watching this in the next couple of days, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. And really it's Teacher Appreciation Day and week, every day and week of the year. So thank you. We really appreciate all of the work that you do with young people and to support each other in teaching and learning. So today's prep session, in alignment with Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and Mental Health Awareness Month, explores an important topic about how fostering an ongoing sense of belonging can really enhance young people's sense of confidence and connectedness and resilience. Today's session features resources that will support you in getting this important conversation started with your students and to really help them as both in and out of the classroom. I'm Lindsay Har. I'm with Hip Hop Public Health, and I'm joined by my colleagues Jennifer and Pixel, who are going to help co-facilitate today's session. We are also joined by several special guests. And I'm actually going to stop sharing for a moment, just so we can see everyone's face and wave and say hello. We have our incredible team from our Hype Hawaii project here, Erin, Ku'ule, Elima, and Kristen, who are joining us from Hawaii. And then we also have one of our partners from Crisis Text Line, Shalini, who's the Community Partnership Coordinator. So you'll be hearing from all of these folks later on. And I want to extend a really warm welcome and a deep sense of appreciation to each of you for giving us your time and coming together to meet with us and our educators today. Great. So about Hip Hop Public Health, briefly, if you're not familiar with our organization, we're a nonprofit educational entity that was co-founded by the legendary hip hop artist Dougie Fresh, who's known as the pioneer of human beatboxing, and by neurologist Dr. Olajide Williams, who's also known as the hip hop doc. And together, these two unlikely yet well-connected and well-aligned individuals came together to problem solve around some health issues they were seeing in their community in Harlem. And they started creating fun, catchy hip hop songs grounded in science and designed to share important health messages with young people and their families. They started this work about 20 years ago, and today we work with many artists and educators and community members around the country. We have more than 250 free evidence-informed multimedia health resources that are designed to inspire people of all ages to care for themselves and to care for those around them. Our prep sessions, when I'm able to run them properly, are 45-minute webinars. You can join them live. We also share the recordings afterwards with everyone who registers. Each month, we spotlight a few of our resources that are aligned with timely themes and topics. And we walk you through practical tips and strategies. Our hope is that you'll leave this time with us ready to go, ready to apply something that you've learned, ready to use something that you've discovered with us. We want these to be really practical and focused for you. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to start with the hook. Pixel is going to interview the Hype Hawaii team so we can hear more about the reasons for the collaboration and the meaning behind these specific resources. We'll also talk about how these resources can be used both inside and outside of Hawaiian schools for students to learn more about Hawaiian culture and their approach to belonging, community, and connection. And then during the verses, Shalini will give us an overview of what Crisis Text Line offers our young people and share some of the data around belonging and well-being that Crisis Text Line has gleaned from their work. And then we're going to showcase two of our toolkits, or two additional toolkits of Hip Hop Public Health that can be used in the classroom to help teach skills around community and communication. And finally, the remix is when we get to hear from you, we get to talk together. We'll be here to answer your questions. And now, Pixel, I'm going to turn it over to you. to ground
Yeah,
us a little
so
in our work today.
thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Pixel. I'm a health educator with Hip Hop Public Health and a former high school health teacher. So I'm feeling that teacher appreciation today, this week. And May is, among others, both Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and also Mental Health Awareness Month. And we are honoring both of these months in our May webinar focused on the concept of belonging. Belonging is something we learn through our everyday family. We may learn it through community, through school practices, and it gives us opportunities to practice in the greater whole, being our authentic selves and being accepted. Belonging is a predictor, as you can see from some of the data on the screen, of positive youth outcomes for well-being and a protective factor for managing stress, which we'll hear more about. The resources we are sharing today all speak to belonging in their own ways. So before we get started, just a note, in Zoom webinars like this one, participants cannot see each other, as you can see, and we cannot see you, the participants. You can message us anytime using the chat feature. When you do this, you can select whether the host sees, whether we see just their comment and question, or whether it goes to everyone. And you can also use the Q&A button to send through questions, and we'll take them as they come or at the end during the Q&A. Great. So let's go into the hook. I will invite everyone who's not part of the Hype Hawaii team to go on off camera, and we'll invite you back on later. Thank you so much. As we dive into this first part. So the month honors the profound impact, culture, and history of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders in the United States. As part of this Heritage Month, we've invited our collaborating team from Hawaii to talk about the joint resources that we have available to you. But before we bring them on, I just want to explain a little bit about the collection. Hype Hawaii is a collaboration with the University of Hawaii at Manoa to increase the overall health and well-being of Hawaiian youth through locally relevant health education, and physical activity. The lessons use the power of music and movement, hip-hop moves, hula movements, and original songs to teach health, wellness, and social-emotional skills to students from kindergarten to high school. Hip Hop Public Health team worked with local educators, musicians, artists in Hawaii, and this incredible Hawaii team in Hawaii to create original songs, dances, and educator toolkits that guide lessons about physical activity and connection to self, family, and community. Each lesson, as you'll see, blends cultural storytelling, Hawaiian language, health concepts, and helping students move their bodies. So before we meet the Hawaii team, we're going to check out one of the dances and songs. This is one of our newest toolkits that will be coming out soon, Menehune Roll. This 1-minute clip showcases the dance and part of the song.
Deep in the woods, we made a home, yeah. With the cover of night, we build, keeping our work concealed. Make it look easy, we whistle while we work. We move in shadow, spread love with arrows. Yes. Weather, okay. That's how the Menehune roll. We work harder, than those larger, 'cause that's who we are. That's how the Menehune roll. How we roll, y'all, how we roll, y'all. How we roll, y'all, how we roll, y'all. How we roll, y'all, how we roll, y'all. Menehune for life, Menehune for life. How we roll, y'all, how we roll, y'all. How we roll, y'all, how we roll, y'all. How we roll, y'all, how we roll, y'all. Menehune for life, Menehune for life. On my grind, I ain't talking about cow, low key, keep my work under wraps like loud.
All right. Wasn't that dance beautiful and energizing? If you were watching thinking, how could I learn that whole dance? You're not alone. We have a breaking it down dance video for each song that breaks the dance down into 4 parts. So this is one of the parts, move 1. Each video teaches only 1 to 2 movements, and the movement is paired with many practice repetitions and a reflection prompt to deepen the learning. So the dance is also taught seated or in a standing position for your various learners. So just to give you a sense of what the toolkits entail before we hear from the group, each lesson has a lesson extension as part of a social emotional learning connection, and they're developed alongside Hawaiian principles that we'll hear more about and weave Hawaiian language throughout with audio buttons featuring translation to help teachers and students alike learn how to pronounce the Hawaiian words. And you'll hear, if you listen to them, that we have Kristen here who has recorded these audio buttons for us. So thank you, Kristen. I'm going to show you, so Menehune Roll, the toolkit we're looking at, has 4 different reflection questions. The move's broken down into 4 parts. Each part has a reflection question to help make the learning more concrete. You can see from the questions that while the lessons are designed to be relevant to Hawaiian students, they're also applicable to students throughout the United States. So for example, Move 1 asks, how does having Heart of a Giant, which means showing love and care, make our class stronger? And that connects to the move we just did, what we saw where they go like this as part of the move. And they show the Heart of a Giant, the lyrics talk about Heart of a Giant, and the move is wrapped into Move 1. So while these lessons were not designed as a mental health series, the reflection questions ask students to deepen their own sense of identity, belonging, and confidence. And these everyday classroom skills and habits, as you know, augmented by lessons such as these, can help students build a foundation of belonging. So now, without further wait, let me introduce the team behind the project. Coming to you directly from Hawaii, hailing all the way from the University of Hawaii at Manoa I will introduce them. Dr. Erin Centello is the chair of kinesiology and rehabilitation science and the coordinator of health and physical education. She was the co-visionary and project advisor along with her esteemed colleague, Dr. Ku'ule Serna. Ku'ule is a professor at in the School of Teacher Education and was instrumental in shaping the materials, grounding them in Hawaiian principles, and visioning the project. Ilima Ka'anehe and Kristen Ferrer have been working on the project for the past 2 years, helping to translate the songs and dances into lesson plans for the classroom. We have spent many hours pouring through the video footage, song lyrics, and looking for meaningful ways students could connect the dances with deeper reflective learning about their culture, identity, and sense of belonging. So I welcome all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And I wanted to, Erin and Ku'ule, I wondered if you could start by just introducing yourselves a little further and talking a bit about how this project came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Pixel, so much. We're so excited to be here to share this amazing project with you, with everybody. So I have a long history with Hip Hop Public Health and using their materials back when I was a health and PE teacher and when I went into higher ed, and really love Hype Breaks and a lot of other resources that you offered. And so as I was coming to Hawaii, I do a lot of work in schools, trying to provide culturally relevant programming in schools. And so as I moved to Hawaii and Ku and I started to partner together working in the schools, we really just felt like a partnership between Hip Hop Public Health and Hawaii could really do something special to create something that not only included hip hop, which our students love, but also hula. And that's where this hip hop hula fusion was born. Ku, do you want to speak more to it?
Yeah, so aloha everyone. I'm Ku'ule, and basically I came into this project because although I was the director of teacher licensure program, my research area is about Native Hawaiian adolescent health, and first started with how Hawaii used the tobacco settlement money. So we kind of worked with CDC and coordinated school health, and I knew that students couldn't really learn well unless they were healthy, body, soul, and mind. So when Erin asked me to be a part of this project, especially with the cultural underpinnings for Native Hawaiian youth, I was like all on board. So, so my research is in how Native Hawaiian youth, and if they live their value system, it actually forms psychological defense theory, and they are inclined to buffer their anxiety, which then leads to less practice of risky behavior and promotion of healthy behaviors. So this is perfect for that because we use their cultural stories, their cultural value systems, and it allows the Hawaiian students as well as all of children in Hawaii to connect with this place, which we call home, which is Hawaii.
Mm,
And one more thing to add, Pixel. So in the schools, oftentimes our teachers don't have resources that are culturally relevant to our students and to the place in which we reside and live, Hawaii. And so this was a perfect opportunity to try to create something that our teachers and our students could enjoy in the schools, but also ground them to the place in which we live.
mm. Yeah, thank you so much. We're going to add something, Kule?
Yeah, I was gonna say, the Hawaii-based stories are key because even culturally, it's culturally inherent to place. And so place is important for Aboriginal Hawaiians and also for people who have chosen to settle here. And just in grounding these stories in place and stories of Hawaii is also another layer of complexity that inherently supports this whole health effort and wellness of students in the Hawaii schools.
It's really incredible to hear about your research, Kule, and the way the theory of well-being that you're talking about. And we talked a lot about this in the early stages of the planning, how to make sure that the toolkit was about Hawaii, but relevant to students, no matter whether they were Native Hawaiians or had come to settle in Hawaii, as well as relevant to students in other states. And is there anything you could add, Erin or Kule, about what kind of balance did we have to strike, or like what helped land that here?
Yeah, I think that, we tried to embed, I think first, to make it locally relevant, I guess, like having Hawaiian first is really important. And
Mm,
so a lot of the Native Hawaiian language that you see throughout the toolkits and on the videos as you get into it comes out first. And that is important here in Hawaii, but also so that Native Hawaiian language can be shared across, right? Even if you're
mm,
not in Hawaii. And it's not that everybody in Hawaii knows Hawaiian language, right? And so it's also a way to teach a language that was once lost. And so I think it is important to kind of share that. And so as we were creating the toolkits, we had, as Kristen and Alima really worked and you worked to pull out some of those health concepts and bring in Native Hawaiian health concepts, there was really strategic ways in which we tried to share those health concepts, but then also give a lot of background information for people that might not know. And I think that, it's not just people in other states that might not know the history behind
mm,
some of these concepts that are introduced in the lessons, but also people right here in Hawaii that might have settled and not know the historical context or how hula came to be.
mm.
Yeah,
I'm
and
laughing to myself. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to add, so many times when Kristen and Alima and I were working, I would say, is this something everyone knows? Or is this a niche thing that like a scholar would know, right? To try to, because I was learning that some of the, different parts of the contents of the toolkits were known by different numbers of people. So yeah, go ahead, please, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and so to add to what Erin said, it's what was important is for us to put together a toolkit um, that all teachers felt empowered to
Mm,
use and they would gain self-efficacy to use. Also, we presented this in many places, even in Samoa, Vietnam, and so in other cultures, and kind of showing Hawaii school teachers how would you apply the process that we use to put this together for even their processes where their demographics of students that come from other cultures, because Hawaii was always inclusive. And so I
mm,
think those Hawaiian principles allow for inclusivity a lot. And also, it is that mind, body, soul, spirit connection that we also want to bring back to a Western frame of education that doesn't acknowledge the spiritual part and that
mm,
connection of the mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional parts of us, which is very Hawaiian, but you can find it in many cultures. And
mm,
going back to the language and repeating what Erin said, that mahalo to Hip Hop Public Health for helping put this out there because the language, we're the only state that actually has a second official language, and Hawaiian, Olola Hawaii, is an official language of the state. So you'll see it on the ATMs, and they try to hear, try to record it in the airports, and just to have this to allow students and teachers to once again connect with that, it is special. So mahalo.
Thank you. We were very intentional about how we included hula moves without claiming to teach hula. Could you talk a little bit more about the use of hula in these lessons?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, hula has a long history and tradition, and we wanted to create something that honored that tradition, but also connected with kids in a way that we didn't know if hula would connect with modern day kids by itself. And so that's where this idea of hip hop hula fusion was kind of born. And so it definitely incorporates hula, but there might be um, things throughout the videos, and Kristen and Kool are definitely better experts than I am to talk about this. So it incorporates hula, but you might not see some of the traditional hula movements that you would see if you watch hula without the fusion.
Yeah, so we just want to kind of be careful that we use hula movements in the fusion and not the art of hula itself. I mean, I'm going to tag Kristen next, but like hula dancers like Kristen, they've been taking hula since they were children, and it comes with the rich history, the legends, the story, as well as this genealogy of those moves and those choreography. And what we love about this is we're allowed to share Hawaiian language through naming some of the hula moves. Kristen, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure, yeah. Aloha everybody. My name is Kristen Ferrer, and I was brought onto this project because I am a hula practitioner. I've been dancing hula in official hula halau as a olapa, which is a like official dancer or student within the halau for almost 30 years. I think I'm around like 27 years. But yeah, so longtime practitioner, and I think that's why I was brought on to this project specifically. But yes, we were making it very clear that this is a fusion project and it's not just a standalone hula. And even though there are traditional movements that are included, and there is the language and the Olelo Hawaii that's involved, there are hip hop moves that are brought into it, and it's not just purely hula. But that's the fun part about it, because we got to see firsthand when we were showing some of the students how to do the moves, and they were doing these little like hip hop things, and they were kind of getting into it with the fusion part of it. So I think that's what's really special about this specific program.
Thank you. I wish I could talk to you all night. Forget like we could extend this for 2 hours, but I want to make sure I get to ask Kristen while you were sharing. Also, can you share a little bit about the menehune role and the story or the mo'olelo behind the menehune, which we were showing that song earlier?
Yes, of course. So, I think probably the first question is like, what is a menehune? Like, what are we talking about here? So there wasn't just one specific mo'olelo. It's kind of more lore, if we could call it that. But menehune are kind of more just like skilled, just short in stature, strong, broad shouldered, like muscular kind of like characters, I guess, or like beings. And there's a lot of little stories that are behind that, but they're just these little builders and like just these little workers that they're often doing work like behind the scenes, and they might be like building structures overnight, and that's kind of like the lore aspect of it because they're kind of like a myth. Um, so you might just like go to sleep one night and be like, oh, I have so much work to do, I have so many things to do, and then like you wake up and then like it's all done, or like you were gonna build like this huge pathway and then you wake up and it's done already, and you think like, oh, maybe it's the menehune, you know, because there's these little legends that these little builders, these little helpers come in the night and they just work together, and they work as a community, they work as a team, and they work together and they build these huge structures and they do these huge things together. And yeah, that's kind of the story behind that, but it's more of a legend or a myth.
Yeah, and I just
Thank
want to
you.
add Pixel. I just want to add, as Kristen said about Minihune, there's actually uh, storytellers that and structures in Hawaii. There's one up above our university that it is known that Menehune built it. So, like Kristen said, it's lore, it's legend, but there are real incidences of people who really believe that Menehune actually built certain structures out of
Mm,
sight.
mm. Well, as we wrap up our section here, and then we'll come back for the Q&A, I was wondering if what's one small way a teacher could honor Hawaiian culture when using these lessons, even if they're far from Hawaii? So, lightning round, one thought. What's something you want people to, if they were short on time, that you'd want them to take a look at, or what's one thing they could do to help honor Hawaiian culture? And we will just go around. Erin.
I think like using the voiceovers to introduce the Hawaiian language and just allowing your kids to enjoy the hula hip hop fusion.
Kule?
For me, it's about for teachers to understand not just the culture, but the history of
Mm.
Hawaii and understanding its place and how it got the way it did. I mean, just doing a little background on the history of Hawaii would be great.
And for those tuning in, the toolkits have resources in the beginning where that you can follow to get to know the history of Hawaii. The toolkit content related to the toolkit, the Menehune legend is there, for example, as well as more about hula. And Kristen, for you, any thought? What would you want teachers to prioritize or think about?
Um, I think just use the resources that are provided because there was so much work and so much effort and so much time that was put into all of this. So, yeah, there's these like nice packaged materials that are just ready to go, and but all the behind the scenes work that went to that was really important. So, yeah, just utilize the tools and the voiceovers, yes, for the correct pronunciation of everything.
Well, thank you all so much for joining and sharing your insight. So please stay on the call, and we will come back to you for the Q&A. And can we please get some love from our participants? Thank you so much for coming. The Hype Hawaii collection has many toolkits. So we will put a link in the chat where you can access them. There are many different lesson plans. There's K through 5, and then there's 6 through 12. And you can access this all for free on the website after a brief login if it's your first visit. Great. And all of these have been aligned as well with the National Health Ed and Physical Education standards. Great. Well, thank you again, Hype Hawaii team, with being us today and for your work on this project. We will move to the verses, and in a moment, we will be joined by Shalini from Crisis Text Line. But I will turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Pixel. Thank you, Hype Hawaii team, for being with us today and for the incredible work that you've done not only on this project, but just sharing your culture, your beautiful culture with us today. So, as we've been talking, this is also Mental Health Awareness Month, and Shalini is going to walk us through some key lessons learned about young people and mental health, as well as let us know how the crisis text line can support our young people. Shalini Murpuri is the Community Partnerships Manager at Crisis Text Line, where she connects mission-driven organizations to expand access to mental health care. She brings to this role a career dedicated to ending sexual and gender-based violence across the harm spectrum, with experience spanning state government, higher education, and the nonprofit sector. She holds a master's in counseling from the University of Florida and works at the intersection of community trauma response, policy, and mission-driven care. She also serves on the board of directors of a local organization connecting youth to foster care, in foster care to career and skill exploration opportunities. Shalini, welcome to our prep session. We're so grateful to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, and happy Teacher Appreciation Week. My mom is a retired seventh grade teacher. She taught for 30 years, so big fan of teachers in our house. I am just going to jump in. I am going to set up a request to share my screen here. And how are we doing? Can you see what I can see?
Yes.
Yes.
Looks great.
Wonderful. Okay. So like Jennifer just said, I'm the Community Partnerships Manager for Crisis Text Line. You may have heard of us before. We are the largest national 24/7 confidential text-based crisis line. We've been around since 2013. We have partnerships that span the globe. So if you haven't heard of us before, hopefully we sound familiar now. This is my email here. If you have any questions after the presentation or after the webinar has ended and you'd like to direct them to me, feel free to always shoot me an email for any of the attendees or honestly any of the panelists as well. So Crisis Text Line, like I said, we're available 24/7. We provide free anonymous text-based mental health services in both English and Spanish. We have served over 12 million people in crisis, and just last year alone, we had over 1 million conversations and texters coming into our text line. What's relevant probably here is that 2/3 of the texters who text in are usually younger than 25. So we get a lot of young folks, we get a lot of youth, and we get a lot of young adults who are sort of in that transitional phase, not quite totally confident in adulthood. And we are also a backup center for the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline as well. So our partnership with Hip Hop Public Health is very interesting. So we actually have a keyword set up with Hip Hop Public Health where anyone can text HHPH to 741-741. I'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here in just a second. But this is relevant for all the attendees here that if you're working with students or honestly even like teachers or support staff, they can text in HHPH to 741-741 at any time, at any point about anything, and they will be connected with a crisis counselor. And the keyword is just helpful because then we know that's what folks heard about, or that's how they heard about us, is through Hip Hop Public Health, that they're coming in through that channel. But it's still totally anonymous. It won't be tied back to HHPH in any way. So this is how our service works. Anyone can text in about any issue they're having. There's a common misconception that we only deal with people in severe mental health crises and folks who are dealing with suicidal ideation, but that is actually not the case. The majority of our conversations are about regular stress, relationships, schools, depression, anxiety, eating disorders. So someone can text in, they say, hey, is there someone I can talk to? We have a proprietary triage algorithm where we analyze the texter's first few messages to determine how quick of a response they need. Someone who's texting in and is immediately mentioning self-harm or suicidal ideation is going to get pushed to the top of the priority line, versus in this example here, somebody who's talking about anxiety that they maybe are struggling to focus is going to get more towards the bottom of the priority line. That being said, the average response time for anybody waiting in our algorithm is 2 minutes. So even if they're not experiencing a severe mental health crisis, they will be connected to a crisis counselor in about 2 minutes. All of our crisis counselors are adults 18 and up who have completed our volunteer training. I think the point that's most critical here is that also every conversation is monitored by clinical staff. So it's not like you're going to be connected with someone who's first day on the volunteer line and they're dealing with a pretty intense issue and they don't know what to do. All of the clinical staff, or I'm sorry, all of the conversations are monitored by clinical staff, every single one. So at any point, a crisis volunteer counselor can flag their supervisor for whatever issue. This person needs to be escalated to a supervisor. I don't know where to take this conversation. This person is expressing that they have suicidal ideation. What do I ask next? The supervisor is always watching, and then the supervisor can also provide feedback in live time, either to the counselor or take over the conversation if the conversation requires someone with a little more expertise. This is what we're seeing in youth under 18. This is our 2025 data. So the dark blue is all youth under 18, and then the light blue is in comparison to the average CTL texter. So when it comes to folks under 18, to no surprise, the biggest issue that they are texting about is school. That's almost half of the conversations that are coming in with youth under 18, followed by relationships, depression, anxiety, stress, and then suicide being about 30% of those. So again, you can kind of see how those relate to the CTL average. Obviously, school is going to be way more prevalent for youth under 18 than it would be someone who's 40 texting in. And then this is what I think is really relevant to this group, is the resources that young people are using. Part of every conversation we have with the texter is identifying what coping mechanisms they may already utilize or are interested in utilizing. And when we're talking about people 17 and younger, the most common coping mechanisms that they mention are either opportunities for social connection or engagement in music, writing, visual, and performing arts. Again, I think that's especially helpful here with the work that Hip Hop Public Health does. A lot of our youth texters text about wanting to listen to music when they're feeling stressed. They talk about wanting to write in journals, wanting to practice a musical instrument more often, or even get involved more often in some sort of performing art or visual art. So those are really important here, that we know for a fact that those are the coping mechanisms that youth are talking about constantly. And so where I think that would be helpful for you all is if you're encouraging someone to text into the text line, a student of yours, or someone who's just coming to you for advice. We do heavily emphasize coping mechanisms and talk with texters about protective factors, so that they leave the conversation always on a positive note. This is how you can share with students. So saving 741 as a contact in your phone with a note to text HHPH to start that conversation. That was also put in the chat. Thank you, Lindsay. And again, that is so that we know that that texter is texting in because they heard of us through Hip Hop Public Health. They're still totally anonymous. They're still totally confidential. We don't ask for names. We don't ask for locations. But it just allows us to understand better the population that you all are working with. And so that we can tailor any of our work with Hip Hop Public Health based on the information that is coming in from texters, right? So for example, we know that people who are texting in with the HHPH keyword are often talking about school stress. That's the most common issue. And because we know that, we can work with Hip Hop Public Health to develop more specialized or personalized materials for them of how to handle crises in the classroom, because we know that in the classroom is likely where a lot of these stressors are coming up for students. Like I said, school-related stress conversations are more common than conversations about suicide. Again, that's a common misconception. We get a lot of questions about thinking that most of the conversations are about suicide, and that's not quite the case. It's not that. It's about a third of the conversations, I would say, that come into crisis text line. Definitely not the most common. And aside from feeling overwhelmed, texters discuss relationships to peers and adults, feeling lonely, suicidal, and many other topics. Anxiety and stress are the biggest ones. Loneliness, suicidal ideation, romantic relationships. Those are the ones that we see most often when we're talking about school stress specifically. So any of the conversations that have come in and have been tagged school stress, we can then break them down and identify what exactly about school is stressful. And of course, listed here, 27% of them had to just do with anxiety related to school, or motivation at school. And then loneliness and friends, and then suicidal ideation is a small part of that. So what I really want to highlight here on this page is, like I said, a majority of our texters are under 25, but the texters that are texting under 18 are very different than the texters who are texting in from the 18 to 24 range. And for texters who are under 18, they're most commonly texting about bullying, relationships with friends, siblings, parents, and teachers. Our focus this year has been focusing on the mental health of boys and young men. And so we've done a lot of specialized research on just boys who are texting in. And we know that 1 in 3 conversations with boys under the age of 18 mention suicide. That's much, much higher than the general population of youth under 18. Boys also tell us that they need social connection and exercise to cope, that when we isolate boys out of the data of texters, exercise and social connection are the most common coping mechanism. So again, relevant to even just what Hip Hop Public Health has just presented on of exercising and implementing ways of incorporating movement into the classroom. And then any ways that we can foster social relationships for them is especially important for boys. That's the brief overview. Again, because of our special relationship with Hip Hop Public Health, we have a special keyword with them where folks can text in to 741-741 using the HHPH keyword. And that allows us to keep doing work with Hip Hop Public Health on a more specialized and personalized level where we can see what texters are texting in about, what area, what parts of the country they're coming in. We can also see things like what time they're texting in. Most of the time, especially when we're talking about youth under 18, it's in the hours of 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. And we can see anything from gender to sex identification, to racial identification, ethnicity, all of the demographic information that we can collect then just helps us better tailor our partnership with Hip Hop Public Health. So we are certainly encouraging y'all to use that keyword if you're speaking with students or speaking with youth about texting in to Crisis Text Line. And that's it. That's all I have for you. Again, we're going to do a Q&A, I think, at the end here, but I'll go way back to my email that if anybody has a question specifically about Crisis Text Line or how to get involved, we're always taking volunteers, or just how to support, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions at all that any attendees or anyone watching this later on may have.
Thank you so much, Shalini. Super informative, so important, the work that you all do. So thank you so much for giving us some insights into kind of the lay of the land for youth today in terms of their mental health. And thank you for the work that you're doing to improve mental health for youth in our country. So
You
we look
are
forward
so
to hearing,
welcome.
we look forward to hearing more from you
I'm
later
also
today.
just sorry, I wanted to make mention. I'm
Yeah,
going to put in the chat here, and Jennifer, I've sent this to you before, so if anyone has a question after this, but I'm putting in our classroom resources that we have, and these toolkits are broken
perfect.
down based on age. So if you're working with elementary students or middle school or high school, all of these resources are free. Anything from classroom posters you can put up to activities to do in the classroom to boost self-confidence and to boost peer relationships. Please, 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 please take a look at those. I think they're great. And then if you have any feedback on them as well, if you've incorporated them and have feedback, I'd love to hear that too.
Thank you, Shalini. So those resources are there for you. And next up, we're going to show you some additional resources that you can use to support your students around mental health. So we have 2 toolkits that we're about to highlight. One toolkit is called Hype Brush It Off. Designed for grades 3 to 5, this lesson helps students discover healthy ways to bounce back when things don't go their way, which will happen a lot. And this social emotional movement-based lesson, students are going to be able to learn skills and strategies for building resilience when confronting small everyday challenges. So these are important life skills. They explore how to acknowledge their feelings, advocate for themselves, decide whether or not they can handle these big emotions on their own or if they need support, whether that's reaching out to a trusted adult, a family member, or a friend. So brushing it off is defined as moving past small challenges that we may encounter and the negative feelings or thoughts that might be associated with those challenging situations. So it uses a dance move, classroom activities to help students find ways to bounce back when things get tough, when things get hard, when things don't go their way. It also highlights how they can ask for help when something feels too big for them to handle on their own. The other featured lesson is Open Up, Level Up. This lesson supports students in sharing their feelings as they discover the importance of opening up, right? Opening up about what they're going through, what they're feeling, what they're thinking in an honest way, and also strategies for leveling up and asking for help. So this lesson pulls the concepts together in a dance sequence that has students learning a series of moves for opening up and leveling up. And it's set to hip hop music, of course. So this is a concept that kids can learn by embodying these moves. These resources are available on our website, and they're posted in the chat right now for you. So thank you, and we'll move on to our remix.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for that. Thank you, Shalini. The time is flying. As Pixel said, I wish we had more time together. This has been just so inspiring. We are in the last segment of our time together in this prep session. And this is where we really want to give you an opportunity to ask questions of any one of us who are here today, the Hype Hawaii team, our partner from Crisis Text Line, or the Hip Hop Public Health team. So I encourage you to drop your questions in the chat. And I will monitor the chat and then shout out a few questions for folks to answer. So I'll give you all a minute there to get your thoughts together, to put some of your questions into the chat there. It's a great opportunity to hear directly from the folks who created these resources, who are really focused on ensuring that they are as accessible and relevant and usable for you and your students as possible. Okay, well, let's see. I like this first one. So I'm Erin and Kule and Kristen, if I can ask you to take on this first question for us. Someone would like to know, is hip hop popular in Hawaii?
I think that hip hop is super popular in Hawaii, just as it is all over the world. Absolutely.
And because music is really important to a lot of our local cultures, not just Native Hawaiian. We have a mix of those cultures, and they love dance music.
So love that. Thank you. All right, let's see. Shalini, I think this one is for you here. What's one thing that you wish more young people knew about reaching out for help?
That's a great question. I wish more young people knew that even if you feel like you don't have a safe adult you can trust, there is a safe adult you can trust, whether that is a teacher or a parent or a counselor at school, even if it's a crisis counselor. Like, there are so many adults who are invested in ensuring that you have all the resources and support that you need, even if it feels very lonely. I think we can all remember what it was like to be a teenager and feeling like totally invisible and also incredibly visible at all times, and not knowing which adults are going to really see you and help you in the way that is authentic for you. But I promise you, there is an adult in your life that can provide that support for you. So if it's not someone physically in front of you, or someone in your social network that's at immediate reach, I promise you there is mental health support either through Crisis Text Line or any other text line. There's a ton of great specialized text lines as well. If you have an issue that you just want to talk to someone about that you want to be confident they can handle, there are so many adults who want to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out to any kind of resource you can look for.
Great, thank you. And I'm seeing a lot. I think all of us are nodding our heads with that. It's great. Let's see, Hi Hawaii team. I'm going to circle back to you with this question. The question is for teachers outside of Hawaii. What should they keep in mind when using the Hype Hawaii lessons?
I mean, I think just like making sure that you're looking at the toolkit and kind of like reading what's in the toolkit and not being afraid of what's in the toolkit would be the first step because there, as Kristen alluded to earlier, there is so much information in there. And then also like it's great that you're kind of stepping outside of your comfort zone. So don't be afraid to use it and don't be afraid to introduce it to your students. Ku or Kristen, do you have anything to add?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and probably it would be a lot of people's first time delving into Olelo Hawaii. And there are just like the initial basic words and things on like each of the slides, but the audio buttons are very helpful, and we made sure to include those in all the slides and the glossary at the bottom and everything. So if you're just a little bit nervous of like, I don't really know how you would say this properly, then you just press the little sound button and then the it's my voice that the recording will say it properly for you, and you don't have to be nervous about that.
Yeah, and I also think that it'll be nice for the teachers to review, but also let it be a learning with your students if you know nothing
Mm.
about Hawaii, and you can kind of learn together like a collaborative.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And certainly, I just want to say to the Hawaii team, you have been such incredible teachers and guides for our hip hop public health team. You have taught us so much, and we so appreciate um, all that all the work that you've done with us. Everything from Chris and I have listened to your recordings. I have practiced and done that, and just your generosity of spirit in inviting us to be part of this learning journey with you. We really appreciate that. I think that's a beautiful thing for all educators to model and to experience with folks they're working with. All right, I think we have time really quickly for one more, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer to wrap us up. Shalini, what is one step that a student could take if they're still just not sure about reaching out or asking for help?
That's a great question. So I'm going to give you two. One step would be ask your friends if they've ever talked to somebody. Is there a teacher that they've told something to that handled it well? Is there a counselor that they like? If you don't feel like you have the relationship, a lot of times the sort of like social vouching is really important. So if you have any peers whose perspectives you trust, likely they also have the adult that they've spoken to that they trust is somebody that you can trust. So ask your friends or ask peers, hey, have you ever had to talk to a teacher about something or something's really bothering me? Who do you talk to when something's bothering you? The second would be if you're curious about the text line, try it. Just text, hey, and see what happens. Again, these conversations don't like ramp up. We totally follow your lead. So if you're just texting in, hey, I'm not even sure, like I cannot tell you how many conversations we've heard about are people being like, hey, I'm not even sure what I need, but I just want to talk. Or, hey, what's this all about? And then they just see what the counselor texts back. You're always going to be connected to someone live who's a real person, not an AI chatbot. So if you're curious, test it out. You don't even have to talk about anything. You can just be like, I just want to see what happens if I text this text line and see who you get connected with and just see what the experience is like before you feel more comfortable in disclosing something that may be bothering you.
That's great. Amazing. Thank you. All right, Jennifer, can I hand it over to you to bring us in for a landing?
Yes, thank you, Lindsay. So we always want to leave you with some next steps so that you can get started when you're back with your students. So what is one activity that you'd like to try? What is the first action step that you'll take? So take a moment to think about that while Lindsay loads up a Zoom poll so that we can get feedback from you all. And we also want to highlight the question that asks about your experience with Hip Hop Public Health's resources and wanting to hear from you. So, in our last session of the year in June, we are going to feature educators that have been using the resources, and we'd love to hear from you. So, even if you're just a little bit interested in sharing what you've done this year with your students, we'd love to have you share with other educators. So, um, please indicate your interest in the form, and we will follow up with next steps. Okay.
All right. And I'm just going to echo what Jennifer said and reiterate, if you, we hope you'll join us at the next prep session. And even more than join us, we hope that maybe you'll participate with us. So I'll give a few more minutes for folks to finish the poll. If you're watching this recording later and you are interested in being part of our next prep session, you can just email us directly. I will put our email addresses in the chat. We'll put them in the follow-up email that you get with this recording as well. So lots of ways to reach us. We hope you'll join us. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for being with us today. Thank you again for our incredible guests and partners. We so appreciate you, and we're really grateful for the time. You all have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, whatever time it is that you're taking part in this prep session, and take good care. Thanks.